Life has become a bitter drink to me, and yet I must take it like medicine, slowly, drop by drop. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel where I discuss random things in my life or just anything in general. Like I used to think that I need to have a plan and execute it like flawlessly for a channel to exist or like to operate a channel, but you know what, I'm just gonna do what I want to do. Like who cares, you know? I'm just gonna do what I want to do. And this episode or today's video is going to be about philosophy. And the phrase that I read right now is from a book called Kierkegaard's Either Or. One of my favorite philosophy books, if not my most favorite. Today I'm just going to discuss a little bit about who was crazy enough to study philosophy or major in philosophy. Actually, that was a clickbait, so I'm sorry. I'm actually not gonna go down and list who are the crazy people who majored in philosophy. Well, one of them is me, but that's not gonna be the video. So, but similar, in a similar vein, I'm gonna be discussing why you might wanna study philosophy, or who, if you wanna study philosophy or thinking about studying philosophy, maybe I will be able to provide you some insights based on my experience and observation as a philosophy major. So yeah, that's gonna be the video today. I have a few bullet points right here, so I'm just gonna go down the list. So the first one, first reason why you might want to study philosophy. Philosophy is all about perspective and arguments. So it really cultivates your critical reasoning and logical reasoning skills. Because you have to, there's an update message. You have to be able to compare different opinions or different views constantly. Like there are no right or wrong answers in philosophy. There's like basically 99% of philosophy questions are like undecided, which is crazy considering how long philosophy has been done by human beings. Like it's been done since like back in the Greek, like ancient Greek, with Aristotle, Plato, all that good boys, you know. It's been like 2,000 years and we're still discussing like what are ethics, or like what is an ethical thing to do, like what are morally good things to do. It's crazy, but at the same time that's the fun of it. So it's all about the perspectives and arguments. When you study philosophy, you're going to be writing a lot of papers on, you know, for instance, like just what I said right now. What maybe you'll think about the trolley problem. One really good example, for instance, like there is one person who is going to die if you don't do anything, and then there are 5 people who are going to die if you pull the lever, or maybe it's the other way around, but you know, you get the gist. So you'll be thinking about what is more ethical thing to do in that kind of like moral dilemma or moral predicament, and you have to weigh different opinions and thoughts while you make that kind of argument. So that's basically the entire gist of doing philosophy, is to kind of argue. Like you basically argue the entire time, except that your argument actually should be logically coherent and sound, instead of just like writing on, I don't know, 4chan or Twitter or whatever, I don't know. So yeah, it's all about perspectives and arguments. And the second one is, well, I guess I kind of mentioned this already, but you get to be in a dialogue with 2,000-year-olds, like insanely old texts and authors. Like for instance, Plato, Socrates, Aristotle. I feel like that's really cool. There's like not that many disciplines where you can still be in dialogue with those kind of people. I mean, maybe Homer's Iliad, but I wouldn't say you're necessarily in a dialogue with them just because like you're reading Homer's Iliad and you're analyzing. You're like trying to figure out what that's saying, and then that's not really being in a dialogue. By being in a dialogue, what I mean by that is that you actually get to analyze the argument and then see whether Aristotle was right about this thing or not, and then you present a new argument, or you if you agree with Aristotle, you defend Aristotle. You know, that's the reason why there are still philosophers who are still like studying Aristotle specifically. there's a professor at Johns Hopkins who studies Aristotle and who has been studying Aristotle for 30, 40 years. And I personally think that's amazing. That's like such a cool thing. Greek philosophy is one of my favorite philosophy too. Like I took intro to Greek philosophy when I was in college, and that was one of the reasons why I got hooked into philosophy and ended up majoring in philosophy, you know. Yeah, so that's just another reason. Third is you get to cultivate analytic writing skills because you'll be writing so many papers. I mentioned this already too, but you will be writing a lot of paper as a philosophy major, which means you will be cultivating that analytic writing skills. So there is a pretty specific format that you need to adhere to when you're writing a philosophy paper. It's not like MLA or APA, that kind of format, but more so like introduction, like background, and then you want to present your own argument and then consider counter examples or counter arguments, and then defend your own position against those. I don't know. So that kind of format is very precise. So you definitely want to stick to that when you're writing a philosophy paper. And then as you stick to that format, you will come to realize how you need to structure a paper so that it becomes more persuasive to the lay people or to people who are reading your paper, like maybe a grader or just anyone, you know, and like someone who might read your paper in purpose of like going against your argument or whatnot, you know. So you have to be prepared for those any kind of audience. And then this is one thing pops up into my mind right away right now, which is what one of my philosophy advisors told me, is that you need to envision an audience that is really lazy when you're writing a paper. What she meant by that is that you want to make sure that you write paragraphs and sentences that are very clear and precise and reasonable, so that even the laziest person could understand it without like much brain power or whatever, you know. Of course, in reality, it's extremely hard to write every single sentence like that in a philosophy paper. Some of them are going to be pretty cryptic or like hard to understand right away, but you know, just keeping that in mind, you need to be as clear as you can in philosophy papers. And you might be thinking, or this is actually what I was thinking too when that professor told me that, is that, you know, like if you read philosophy, it is the case that most of them are really complicated and like hard to understand. For instance, I don't know, Heidegger is notorious for writing very complicated way, I don't know. So I was talking to her about that, and then she said, that's true, but it's unfortunate that that's the case, but that doesn't mean you have to model them. Like, just because they're good philosophers doesn't mean you have to model how they write. The trend in philosophy nowadays is that you want to be as clear as possible so that we can focus on the arguments themselves rather than trying to dissect what the argument is even trying to say. So I would still say, yeah, cultivating that analytic writing skills will be an important part of your study. Number 4, you will be evaluating and analyzing a lot of information and opinions. So by that, you will be able to see through the BS and some arguments or opinions or sources. And that actually is a really important life skill, because especially in this day and age where fake news is abundant and like you're inundated with information all the time, you want to make sure that you know what sources are reputable or more so reasonable or like actually true, you know. And sometimes it can be hard to distinguish that. I mean, even as a person who studied philosophy, it is hard, but you know, you get equipped with those skills of analyzing and evaluating those information to make sure that you are getting the best out of it. And I would say that's actually a really important life skill in general, like, or a soft skill. And you get to do a lot of that when you study philosophy, because you have to read a lot of books that is assigned by your professor, and you'll be reading secondary sources where the secondary source is analyzing or like going against the primary source, which is the actual book written by the philosopher. So, I mean, you do that a lot in other humanities subjects too, but more so in philosophy, you have to do that constantly, basically, because you have to consider counter examples or counter arguments a lot. So I would say that's a part, very important part. And number 5, it is at the core of every discipline. So I'm not trying to be aggressive or like haughty about philosophy when I say this, but it is true that philosophy is at the core of every discipline. Like for instance, math actually started from philosophy. There's this one example, Meno, from Plato or Socrates, I don't know. Plato, I mean Plato wrote it, but anyway, so let's say Plato's Meno. There is a geometry demo in that piece, and I distinctly remember having to write a paper about that, and I thought it was really cool that, like, wow, they're actually doing math in a philosophy textbook. It's kind of funny. And then the whole branch of logic developed from philosophy, and then that was the basis, a foundation for mathematics, because all the mathematics that is being done right now, if you like dig down to the deep core, it's logic. All of them are logic, and logic is from philosophy. And another example is like even science. Well, science, I guess it can be traced back to math, so in that similar way. But even in like just the sense of actual science, Aristotle was the one who was doing a lot of biology and chemistry and physics back in the ancient Greek, and he started so many of those experiments or like thought experiments and whatnot and theories. Even though he was wrong about a lot of stuff, that doesn't mean the work should be discredited, because he laid out the foundations and thought about these questions when no one really was thinking about this, and then they all became crucial background for modern science. So, you know, I can go on, but the point is that it's at the core of every discipline, and it's really cool to see how it all stems from philosophy. And I think that's really cool that you get to be studying I guess the mother of all disciplines. Like, this is the term that my philosophy professor used. So yeah, these are the basic why you should or you want to consider philosophy as a major. Another like practical reason might be law school. So a lot of philosophy majors want to go to law school, and they tend to do really good in law school admissions. I mean, I don't think it's a surprise, because a lot of what you need to do in law school is what I said right now, like analyzing information and then like counter arguments or whatnot. So, you know, it does prepare you well for law school. Okay, so now I'm gonna kind of switch gears and say stuff about why you shouldn't study philosophy, or disadvantages, I guess you can maybe even consider. So yeah, why shouldn't you study philosophy? Number 1, the money or job opportunity. So it's funny, because when I was first considering philosophy major, I saw this like big bulletin board in the philosophy department, and like the American Philosophy Association publishes like a poster saying like why you should major in philosophy, and one of them was like high salary and like abundant job opportunities, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, okay, maybe it's true that on average philosophy majors have higher salary, but I don't know if that comes from actually studying philosophy. Maybe it is a byproduct of studying philosophy, because a lot of the people who study philosophy actually tend to double major. So I double majored in math and philosophy, and they also just tend to be curious people, and most of the time they venture into other disciplines too, you know, so they might be earning more salary because of that reason, or because of other reasons. I don't know. Like, I don't know if that's just purely because you study philosophy you earn high salary, like for some reason. I don't know. I just thought that was kind of a BS reason to advertise philosophy major, because like it's not the case that philosophy guarantees you high salary. I mean, of course, no major guarantees you high salary, but like there are some majors that you might have higher chance of getting a high salary. For instance, one example I can immediately think of is computer science. Like if you major in computer science, if you can land a job in software engineering, you will probably be well off, really. Like the average salary in that field is really high, I know. So, but yeah, I don't know about philosophy. And the job opportunities, like, yeah, like you will have a job, but I don't know if there's like a lot of job opportunities just for philosophy majors. Like if you just study philosophy, like you will have to do some additional maybe schooling or like education or just research or whatever to do something. I don't know, like it's just, I'm not denying that philosophy majors have high salary because like that's the statistics and like obviously that's not, like I'm not denying that, but like it's not, I don't think it's because they study philosophy that that's the case. Like it's just, yeah, it's kind of backward, I think. So you shouldn't study philosophy just because of that reason. You know, that's what I'm saying, I guess. Second one is there's a lack of technical / hard skills you can learn from philosophy. There's none. I think there's none basically because like all you do is you read papers or books and then write about them and analyze them, argue about some position and defend that position or whatnot. You don't learn how to code. You don't learn how to, I don't know, like keep a accounting book or whatever. I don't know. It's like those are the hard skills that might be deemed valuable by an employer. You would have to do a lot of like selling yourself to be employable, because unfortunately in this day and age, a lot of employers are looking for hard skills instead of soft skills. So even though philosophy majors would do really good on those kinds of jobs, you need to think about the ways where you would need like kind of sell yourself basically. It won't be easy, in my opinion, because there's just no technical / hard skills you will learn as a philosophy major. Number 3, you shouldn't major in philosophy because it sounds cool. Like it's kind of silly, but I actually did hear this at least once from a real philosophy major, is that they got interested in philosophy because it sounded cool. And then, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it is cool and it does sound cool, but if that's the only reason why you want to do philosophy, it's gonna be really hard. Like that's like I don't know, you seeing an advertisement for a Burger King Whopper and then thinking that it's really good, and then actually walking into Burger King and tasting a Whopper and then being in disappointment. I don't know, like I don't mean to slander Burger King, but that has been my experience actually. Like I was really not impressed by the Whopper, and then watching the advertisement I was like, oh my god, that must be really good, you know. So anyway, so it's just, yeah, so just because it sounds cool doesn't mean you should do it. Like it's a very difficult and tough discipline, so it will beat you down. Number 4, you can't really ever use philosophy ever in your career unless you pursue a career in academia. So like basically if you become a professor in philosophy, of course you will be using philosophy every day, but other than that, you really have no practical applications of philosophy. Like sure, you may encounter a moral predicament walking down the street and be thinking, what would Kant do in this situation? He is a subscriber of moral imperative, which means that I need to be thinking about the moral imperative in this situation, divorced from the situational perspectives. So, you know, like you could do that, but like, what's that gonna do to you? Like, it's just, you could be better off just like actually helping the person, or I don't know. So it's really not that useful, like useful in real life situations or in your career. Like I'm a math teacher and I never use philosophy. Oh, sorry, I do use philosophy, but because I'm running a philosophy club this semester. But besides that context, I don't ever use philosophy, you know. So it is useful in the soft skill sense that I mentioned before, but at the same time, you will never use that content. So you will never be discussing Kierkegaard's either or. You will never be using categorical moral imperative. You will be never using like Descartes, like, I think therefore I am, or I don't know, you know, these are all really fun questions to think about, but you'll never be using them in real life. So yeah, that's about it. So that's already around 20 minutes. Wow, like I can go on way longer than this, but I'm just gonna try to cut it short because I know the attention span is pretty short these days for YouTube viewers. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. If you did watch and made it through here, yeah, this is one of my many ideas that I have in terms of like making videos. I'm biting the bullet finally and then making them these days, despite being extremely busy. I'm just trying to make some time for that. Yeah, so overall, do I recommend majoring in philosophy? Absolutely. Like, I majored in philosophy. I never regret it. It was a wild ride, but it was also a really fun ride. And it's just that you never get to study philosophy in such a setting, like an academic setting, where you can get immediate critiques or feedback from professors or your peers in a supportive environment. Well, given that your department is supportive. I mean, like supportive, I mean like they actually do give you feedback instead of just like slandering you without any reason. That's what I meant by supportive. But yeah, so that's a very unique experience. You will not be able to do that unless you are in a university. So I would take advantage of that, honestly. Like, and then yeah, also, when will you ever be able to discuss, like, for instance, Kierkegaard's Either Or with anyone, like in an academic setting where, like, you know they are committed to discussing and reading this, and then there's an expert right in front of you who can provide feedback and opinions about the views or whatnot. So I would highly recommend it if you are interested in. But like, of course, don't do it just because of the 4 reasons that I said. So like the money, like because it's cool, or I don't know. So just be careful before you dive into it. But also at the same time, go for it. I'm gonna end this video with by reading out loud a phrase that basically made me seriously consider philosophy. It's from the same book, actually. An ecstatic lecture. If you marry, you will regret it. If you do not marry, you will also regret it. If you marry or do not marry, you will regret both. Whether you marry or do not marry, you will regret both. Laugh at the world's follies, you will regret it. Weep over them, you will also regret that. Laugh at the world's follies or weep over them, you will regret both. Whether you laugh at the world's follies or weep over them, you will regret both. Believe a woman, you will regret it. Believe her not, you will also regret that. Believe a woman or believe her not, you will also regret that. Believe a woman or believe her not, you will regret both. Whether you believe a woman or believe her not, you will regret both. I'm not over it. Hang yourself, you will regret it. Do not hang yourself, and you will also regret that. Hang yourself or do not hang yourself, you will regret both. Whether you hang yourself or do not hang yourself, you will regret both. This, gentlemen, is the sum and substance of all philosophy. Thank you for watching.